So right now, as we monitor the impacts of the ongoing government shutdown, try to keep you all informed and updated, our nation's farmers, especially those who grow and export soybeans, are dealing with a crisis of their own. This all started with Trump's trade war with China, and I will get to that in a moment, I promise. But the way Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent tells it, somehow Joe Biden, yes, the man who has not been president for 8 months, is at fault here.
At the meeting in Geneva, when I asked them, why didn't you continue buying soybeans and the other products, they had one word. Guess what it was? Biden.
Biden. Oh, that sounds like malarkey.
Maybe because it is, in fact, malarkey. See, soybean farmers in states across the Midwest are struggling right now because China typically buys more than half of all of the soybeans grown here in the United States. But Trump started a trade war with China, as we all know, so they stopped buying our soybeans. As the New York Times headline bluntly puts it, China bought $12.6 billion in U.S. soybeans last year. Now it's zero. That is quite a drop. But guess what? Trump didn't just start the problem. He is now actively making it worse. Do you recognize this guy holding the chainsaw with the crazy sideburns? That's the president of Argentina, and he is one of Trump's biggest cheerleaders and allies. He vowed to bring MAGA to Argentina to fix their economy. But surprise, like his buddy Trump, he failed horribly. And so last week, Scott Bessent, of all people, announced that the Trump administration would use $20 billion in U.S. tax dollars to bail out Argentina. Now, if you're asking, how does this negatively impact America's soybean farmers? Well, let this text message, reportedly sent to Bessent from Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins, that was captured by an AP photographer, be careful where you text, explain for you. It's hard to see, but it reads, we bailed out Argentina, and in return, the Argentines removed their export tariffs on grains, reducing their price, and sold a bunch of soybeans to China at a time when we would normally be selling to China. This gives China more leverage on us. Couldn't have stated the summary better there. So you've shut the government down. You're implementing the biggest cuts to Medicaid in history. Rural hospitals are shutting. And now you're screwing over America's soybean farmers by bailing out Argentina. Bang up job, everyone. Lots to talk about there. As Senator Amy Klobuchar put it, are service members unpaid? Check to Argentina in the mail. It's quite a summary, too. Joining me now is Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar. So it's great to see you. You have been talking about, obviously, soybean farmers. Minnesota is one of the states that's, of course, impacted. I just kind of gave a summary there of like how people are being impacted by these economic policies. What does it kind of tell you about the administration's priorities right now?
It's unbelievable to me, and you can see there's some divide within their own administration. Imagine trying to explain this to a small soybean farmer, as I had to do last week. He told me between the tariffs, between what's happening internationally, between these healthcare costs skyrocketing, over a quarter of our farmers are on the Affordable Care Act and the state versions of it. He said it's a perfect storm of ugly. Yeah. And there is, in my state, 60% of the soybeans are exported. You've got 20% of ag production overall is exported. It's been one of the jewels of our American economy because of the fact we have growing export markets. These tariffs, not just on China, have decimated that, and these markets won't come back. So you add to that they've given $20 billion. As you were speaking, I'm like, was it really billion or million? It was billion. $20 billion promised to his friend and in another country, and then they go and turn around and they get rid of the export tax, Argentina does, on their soybeans and sell it to China, which was the exact market, used to be 250 million bushels a year, that has dried up to nothing. That's what's going on, and that's why they must do something about these tariffs, number one. And number two, you don't want to saddle rural America, which is already smacked with all of this other stuff, with these incredible health care cuts, whether it's Medicaid, whether it's Medicare, it is, and now these Affordable Care Act. Because why? Well, these tax credits help them to afford their health care.
I said this yesterday. I mean, what strikes me here about their policies is it's bad policy, obviously, but it's also bad politics on a lot of this. It's like, who is deciding this? What room is this deciding, and who is voting for it? And one of the things that falls into that category is this targeting of blue states that Russ Vought has talked about. I mean, today the Energy Department canceled $8 billion in funding for renewable energy projects that were already approved, something they can't do. And these projects don't just serve blue states. They serve red ones, too. And there's like huge influx of jobs around energy infrastructure. Again, I'm not asking you to answer like who's voting for it, but it's like, do you think the Republicans in the Senate don't care?
My guess is they were not consulted about that. One of my favorite facts is I looked at the Minnesota ones, and they're about making energy more affordable. They're about electric companies and their grids. One of the projects is actually a lot in North Dakota, which is where the Interior Secretary is from. So I'm kind of like, what is going on here? Mm-hmm. So these are not what you might think, these grants. They're all about creating more energy supply or making energy more efficient. And at the same time, costs are going up and up on people's electricity bills. And I just think at some point, no matter how many horrific, offensive, deepfake videos the president put out, like he did after that healthcare meeting in the White House that he finally had on the budget, the things don't lie. People's electricity bills don't lie. Their grocery bills, when their grocery receipts don't lie, their health care premiums don't lie. They're going to see through all this. And the problem with this is, of course, it's corrupt that he is targeting certain states. That's not how the budgeting works. It's one of the reasons why we're pushing this budget issue, because we need to go back to normal where Congress makes the decision about the funding. And then, of course, the major reason is that we're in a health care crisis that they created. But when you look at what they've done here, those energy grants, they already are seeing escalating prices, and they're going to get worse.
You are in your leadership position in the Democratic Senate. I think a lot of people are asking, I'm sure they're asking you, how does this get to an end?
This gets to an end when they come to the table in a real way, not making jokes about it like the president did with his video, not acting like, oh, we can do everything we want and we don't need your votes. That's not true, as they've found out. And the American people expect us to do something about this healthcare crisis. They need to make things better. And instead, they're making them worse every single day. 15 million people kicked off Medicaid under the big, beautiful betrayal of a bill. $500 billion in Medicare cuts that were triggered because they added so much to the debt because of their tax cuts for the wealthy. And now you have something they can actually do. And behind closed doors and even publicly, some of the Republicans in the Senate have indicated that they realize that in their own states, this is going to be a major devastation because people will see their insurance premiums double. So what they need to do is come to the table and figure this out with us, and stop rubber stamping him or get him in the room, because if they're going to follow everything he does, and he prides himself in the art of the deal, he needs to make the deal.
Senator Amy Klobuchar, they should certainly know that what they're doing is unpopular. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.